Hey, Bentley. All right. So are we ready for our lesson today? Oh, we've got sniffing going on. I just thought we'd show off the dogs today to get started. All right. So today, April 2nd, our lesson's going to be about everything that is round. So we're going to start off with just some basic information. For my new students, you need to know this. My old students, I know this is a review. But a circle, to go all the way across from one side to the other, that's the diameter. And if you were to take that diameter and cut it in half, you would then have the radius. So if I said that this diameter was 16, half of 16 is 8, so the radius would be 8. To get radius, you would just put your pen in the middle of a circle and go to any outside edge, and that would be the same measurement all the way. So this would be 8, this would be 8, this would be 8, 8, 8. All right, so if we're going to get circumference of a circle is all the way around the outside. So if I'm looking at this quarter, if I want the circumference, I want to know the measurement around the outside. If it was a figure like a rectangle or square, we would call that perimeter, and we would add. We can't add the sides of the circle, so we use this formula. Circumference, we have two. We have the formula 2 pi r, or pi diameter. This one we use when we know the radius. Pi diameter we use when we know the diameter. So if we go back to this one where we were talking about a minute ago, and we said the diameter is 16, we would say pi times diameter. So let's talk about pi real quick. At our level, at the GED level, we will always use 3.14 for pi. So if you have a pi button on your calculator, don't use it. We're going to use 3.14, and we would times it by the diameter. So in this case, we said the diameter is 16. So if I take 3.14 and times it by 16 in my calculator, and yes, you can absolutely use your calculator, I'd get 50.24. Now, remember we said if the diameter was 16, the radius is 8. Well, let's do the same formula, the same circle with the radius of 8, but let's use this formula where we know the radius instead of the diameter. So if we come here, we're going to say 2 times 3.14 times, we said the radius was 8. So let's see what we get. Do you think it would be the same? Do you think I would get the same circumference for this as this? Let's see what we get. So I'm going to put 2 times 3.14 times 8. And yes, I got the same. I got 50.24 centimeters. And that only makes sense because we started off with this circle that had a diameter of 16. So now we know that going all the way around the outside is 50.24. Well, if we cut the diameter in half and use a radius of 8, it's still the same size of a circle. So my circumference should still be the same. All right, now I'm going to give you 2 to do. I want you to press pause, and I'll see you in a minute here. So this is yours. 1, the radius is 7, and 1, the diameter is 6. I am hoping you press pause. Let's go back and do this problem up here. So this one, I would be using 2 pi r. I definitely believe you should always write the formula first. So 2 times 3.14, and the radius was 7. So 2 times 3.14 times 7 in my calculator, I get 43.96. And we'll call everything centimeters tonight. This one was a little bit of a trick in the fact that I was given the diameter, so I got to remember which one I want to use, and this time I want to use pi times diameter. So pi is 3.14, and diameter is 6. So I'm going to say in my calculator 3.14 times 6, and that gives me 18.84. See how it helps if you write the formula, then write down below? Really helps. By the way, you should be taking notes because I'm going to be giving you a quiz on this in a minute. All right, next. That was circumference that we just did. Now we're going to do area. Area is the surface, not the outside measurement. The formula is different, and there's only one formula. This is pi r squared. So let's talk about r squared for a minute. For those of you that are new, r squared would mean whatever the radius is times itself. So for instance, if I had a 3 for the radius, 3 squared means 3 times 3. It does not mean 3 times 2. If I had a 5 for the radius, it would mean 5 times 5, not 5 times 2. So we're going to come back up to this formula, and I'm going to write it like I always do before I get started, pi r squared. My pi is 3.14. My radius is 3. So I can either say 3 times 3 is 9, or I can go ahead and just write 3 times 3 because we need 2 radiuses. And when I put that in the calculator, 3.14 times 3 times 3, I get 28.26 centimeters. Now, whenever something's area, just like we learned yesterday, it's always squared. So that's my final answer. So I'd like you to try this one, and I'd like you to pause the video, and then I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so back with me. I'm hoping that you paused it and you tried it. First thing I would do is write pi r squared because that's my formula. I would go ahead and put pi is 3.14. My r, my radius, is 5. I'm going to write it twice. Or if you want, you could say 5 times 5 is 25. When I put this in the calculator, 3.14 times 5 times 5, I get 78.5 centimeters. And remember, because it's area, it will be squared. All right, let me give you one more to do. This one, the diameter is 8. Go ahead and press pause and see me back in a minute. Okay, so back with this one. Now, remember, we only use radius when we're doing these questions for area, but yet I was given diameter. So the first thing I have to remember is to cut this in half and make that a 4. So now my radius is 4. So then I come here and I put 3.14 times 4 times 4. Or I could have said times 16. When I do my math, I get 50.24. And because it's going to be hard to put the square, let's go ahead and write square spelled out like this, centimeters. I think that'll be easier when it comes time to take the quiz. All right, so we have figured out the circumference of a circle and the area of a circle. Now we're going to figure out volume of a cylinder. Volume is what you can put inside something. And the cylinder would be like a Pepsi can or a Coke can or a green bean can. That would be like a cylinder. Notice my formula. Look at this, pi r squared h. Well, look at my formula for area, pi r squared. So the first part of my formula for cylinder is exactly what we were just doing for area. Now all I have to do is that and times it by h, which is the height of the cylinder. So let's go ahead and set this one up. Pi, we know, is 3.14. R squared, I see that my r is 5, my radius. I'm going to put 5 twice in my calculator. And then my height is 7. So in my calculator, I'm going to say 3.14 times 5 times 5, or I can say 3.14 times 25. And then I just need to times it by my height, which is 7. And when I do that, I get 549.5. So my volume is 549.5. Volume is always done in cubics. So I would normally put centimeters cubed, but I could also write it this way, which will be easier for your quiz later. I can put cubic centimeters. That would be my answer. Okay, let's do another one. Now this one, they give me a diameter of 12, but I know that my formula only can use radius. So I've got to come over here and cut my diameter in half, which gives me a 6. So as I fill in, I have 3.14 times 6 times 6, and then my height is 9. So when I put that in the calculator, and I hope you're doing it too along with me, you will find out you get a 1,117.36. And then we're going to go ahead and say cubic centimeters. All right, so guess what? You've got a couple to do. So I want you to pause the video. I have 2 for you to do. This one, the radius is 7 and the height is 11. And this one, be careful, it says that the diameter is 10 and the height is 10. So go ahead and do those, pause the video, and I'll see you back here. All right, so here we go. This one, the first thing I would do is, like always, write the formula. It makes it easy to fill in. I know pi is 3.14. I'm told my radius is 7, and I'm going to write it twice. And my height is 11. That's what I have. When I multiply that, I get 1,692.46. And then once again, it's cubic centimeters. This one right here, I'm going to write my formula, pi r squared h. The more you write it, the better you'll get it memorized, 3.14. My radius, I know my diameter, so I have to cut that in half to do this formula. So my radius is 5, so I'm going to times it by 5 times 5, and my height is 10. And yes, I could have written it 3.14 times 25, because 5 squared is 25, times 10, either way. And when I multiply that in my calculator, I get 785 cubic centimeters. So staying with the tradition of today that everything is round, let's move on to a sphere. A sphere is a ball. Now, if I look for volume, once again, remember that's what you can put inside. So what could I put inside? How much? Well, this formula is a little tricky. Volume of a sphere is 4/3 pi r cubed. Okay, let's talk about this 4/3. If you have that beautiful blue calculator that we have in the classroom, this is easy breezy to put 4/3 in. Then you would times it by 3.14, and then r cubed. That means I got to write this number 3 times. If you don't have one of those lovely calculators at home, which I don't, I could do it this way. I could say 4 times 3.14 times my radius, and I write it 3 times. And then I could divide the whole thing by 3. So that's what I would do if you have a regular calculator. 4 times 3.14 times 3 times 3 times 3. When you do that, you get 339.12 on the top. And now I need to divide that by 3. And when I do that, I get 113.04. Remember, if it's area, my answer is going to be cubic, in this case centimeters. Okay, here's another one we're going to do. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to write my formula, 4/3 pi r cubed. My radius is 7. So in this case, I'm going to say 4 times 3.14 times 7, and I'm going to write that 3 times. And then I'm going to write it all over 3, which means I'm going to divide by 3. When I multiply the top, I get 4,308.08 divided by 3, which gives me 1,436.02 cubic centimeters. All right, you can pause this video at any time because I know I'm kind of going fast, but it takes forever for these videos to upload if they're too long. So, all right, here we go. These are your 2 to do. I have one where the radius is 5, and be careful, one where the diameter is 8. Go ahead and do those, and I'll see you back here in a minute. Okay, I went ahead and wrote those out while you had me pause. I'm sure you paused me. This first one, 4/3 pi r cubed, so I would have said 4, and this was a little oopsie, times 3.14 times 5 times 5 times 5, and I would have divided by 3, which would have given me 1,570 on top, 3 on the bottom. When I divide 3 into that, I get 523.33. And since this is volume, we're going to put cubic centimeters. This next one was the one I told you to be careful because you were told the diameter is 8. If the diameter is 8, that means my radius is 4. And so then I'm going to say 4 times 3.14. My radius is 4, so I'm going to write it 3 times. And then I'm going to multiply that out. I get 803.24. And then I'm going to divide it by 3. And when I do that, this is my answer. You know what? I'm not sure about that because I have 2 answers here. Hold on. Let's check this out. 4 times 3.14 times 4 times 4 times 4. That gives me 267.94. Oh, this is for my next one. Don't look. There's my answer. Okay. Last thing of the night, or the day, we're going to do surface area. Surface area is different than volume. Volume is how much I can cram in this ball. Surface area is the outside, how much covers this ball. It's a different formula, but way easier. Look at this one, 4 pi r squared. So my radius is 3 for this one. And you should probably already know how to do this since we've done some very similar. I'm going to say 4 times 3.14. My radius is 3, and this time it's squared, so I only have to write it twice. When I multiply that all in my calculator, and I don't have to divide, which makes this so much easier, I get that. Now remember, when it's area, it's only going to be squared. So I'm going to say square centimeters. All right? Let's do one more. I have the diameter. I know my formula is 4 pi r squared, so I can't use diameter. I've got to cut that in half, and I'm going to use 5. So in my calculator, I'm going to say 4 times 3.14. My radius is 5. I'm going to write it 2 times, and when I'm all done, I get 314. Oh, nice even number. I have 2 for you to do. Go ahead and pause and do those for me. All right, almost done. So here on this one, I'm going to write my formula, 4 pi r squared. So in my calculator, I'm going to put 4 times 3.14 times 7 times 7. And when I get done, my answer will be 615.44. Because it's area, it's going to be square centimeters. Last one, you guys. Okay, my formula is 4 pi r squared, but I'm given the diameter, so I know what to do. I know to cut that in half and make the radius 6. So now I'm going to say 4 times 3.14 times 6 times 6. And my calculator tells me, oops, I didn't finish it, so hold on. 4 times 3.14 times, I'm going to go say 36. And that gives me 452.16 square centimeters. Because it's area, it's square. Okay, this was a whole lot of information. That's the beauty of this having it on video. You can go back and do it. You can go back and just do the ones you were a little concerned with. I have a quiz for you on this. Now tomorrow we're going to make it harder. We're going to leave different pieces of information out. But for today, let's just make it where we're just figuring out what the circumference is, the area, the volume, or the surface area. Don't forget to take the assessment or the quiz under assignments when you're done. And thank you for joining me. And if you have any questions, I'll be available anytime. Bye.